Now we have negative 5i divided by 1 plus I. Okay, believe it or not, you already know how to do this. What is I? It's the square root of negative 1, right? How do you get rid of a square root in the denominator when you have a sum or difference?
Square it.
No, you can't square it. You multiply numerator and denominator by the conjugate. You pay a conjugate visit, right? So what's the conjugate of 1 plus I? 1 minus I. You multiply the numerator and denominator to do the division. In other words, to get rid of the I in the denominator, you multiply numerator and denominator by 1 minus I, if it's a sum or difference. So let's do the denominator first. When you multiply conjugates, you don't actually have to do the full FOIL, right? Because the outer and inner terms cancel. So you multiply the first together, you get 1. But if you do the outer and the inner, they knock each other out because the outer gives you minus I, the inner gives you plus I. If you add those together, they're gone. So all you really have to do is multiply the first terms together. What's 1 times 1? 1. Outer and inner knock each other out, so then just do the last terms together. What's that? Minus I squared, and that's your denominator, but we need to simplify it. Well, okay, let's go ahead and multiply out the numerator as well. So just distribute up top. What's negative 5i times 1? Negative 5i, right? Multiply by 1, you just get the number back again. And then distribute the negative 5i over minus I. Is it minus? Plus 5i squared. What do you have to do with the I squareds? Replace them with negative 1 because that's what I squared is equal to. So you get negative 5i plus 5 times negative 1 up top. On the bottom, you get 1 minus negative 1. Notice how I put the negative 1 in parentheses. Okay, so what do you get? Negative 5i minus 5 all over 2. 1 plus 1, right? Now that's a great way to write it. This is the same thing. If you turn it around, you get negative 5 halves. And then you'd have minus the 5 halves I on the end there if you turn it around. And that's equivalent, right? If you undo the subtraction and keep the common denominator there. Does everybody see that? So in part G, you guys, let's take 5 minus I divide by negative I. 5 minus I divided by negative I. Okay, what would the trick be here? Yeah, what's the conjugate of negative I? And by the way, if there's a number in front there, you can ignore the number, the real number, the real number factor, that is. So yeah, you could think of 0 minus I. You could think of negative I as 0 minus I, and it is in this. You don't have to think of it in terms of the conjugate, but it's helpful for getting rid of the negative in the denominator if you do. So what's the conjugate of 0 minus I? 0 plus I, which is just I. So the idea would be to multiply numerator and denominator by I in this case. If you multiplied by negative I, that would work too. That would still get rid of the I in the denominator. You just have some simplifying to do with the negative in the denominator. So, okay, so you multiply straight across. I actually usually say do the denominator first. So in the denominator, what's negative I times I? That's negative I squared, right? What is that going to turn out to be? Well, it's the opposite of negative 1, isn't it? It's the opposite of negative 1, so it's actually just, 1. Okay, and then after you do that, go ahead and distribute in the numerator. What do you get? 5i minus I squared. Okay. So do I need to show division by 1? No, so let's just take the numerator, 5i minus I squared. But what is I squared? Negative 1. So it's 5i plus 1. Most books will tell you to write it in a plus bi form, which in this case just means turn it around. Turn it around, you can get 1 plus 5i as your answer.